And good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Comic Corner here on the Agents of Fandom channel, here on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and all your favorite podcasting apps. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got a lot to talk about today. My name is Damon. I am your host. What we do is comic book news, reviews, and interviews. Joined today by AF. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Eid is on the horizon, the second
Mhm.
Eid. If you watched Miss Marvel, then you'll get that reference. Um, yeah, so I'm excited for that. It's going to be great. But before that, we have some amazing comic books to talk about.
Yes, we do. We have some amazing comic books to talk about throughout Marvel and DC and elsewhere. Let's get into the rundown today because what is Imperial? What is Imperial for Marvel? We'll get into that. Jonathan Hickman's brand cosmic landscaping kind of changing thing. We're trying to figure out what this was. I read the first issue. You read the first issue. This is not what I thought it was going to be from a groundbreaking thing. It is something much different, much more classic, and much more exciting, in my opinion. We'll get into it. The Incursion has arrived. Is it worth the wait? Miles Morales, the Miles Morales, is officially in the new Ultimates universe. In Ultimate Incursion #1, I'll talk about that. And sticking with the Ultimates universe, an Ultimates breakthrough, an Ultimates Wolverine. We have gone 6, 7 issues now of Wolvie doing his Wolvie thing without speaking a word. Does he talk in this issue, AF? We'll see. We'll see. But
I
first,
I certainly hope he doesn't, though. I feel like just make it long running. Just make it long running.
but first, I wanted to get into a little something different this episode. I know we usually do news. There really isn't that much news, I'm going to be honest. But there is something I want to talk about because there's 2 issues that came out this week. I'm going to be talking about one of them, and there's a reason. So I'm going to start a little thing. I don't know if we can do this every week. We'll bring it back on occasion whenever needed. Called Come On Comics. Because you know I love to rant. Everyone knows I love to rant. I'll go on to go to rant. Okay, so Imperial came out this week. This is like Marvel's big kind of book of the week. It's big swing of the week. There's actually big 3 swings of the week if you also include the Ultimate Incursion, and Marvel Knights dropped this week as well. And there's one thing in here I really want to point out. If you look at the very top of that, I made sure I kept this in this visual. Top right hand corner, F. What does that say?
$6,
$6.
just about. Yeah.
Imperial, by the way, was $6.99. You're dropping 2 big things, Marvel, 2 big things, and they're not cheap.
Yeah.
They're not cheap at all. That is expensive. That is very expensive. If you bring them all together, it's almost $20 for $3. That's crazy. So when you're trying, like, this just seemed almost like one of these was kind of destined to fail. And I have a feeling, based on reviews, based on what people have been saying they've read and what they prefer, and what I've read and what I haven't read, because we like to cover as many things as possible here on this show, especially the big books of the week. Why we say we cover the big books of the week. I just could not pick up Marvel Knights for an extra $6. That's crazy. That's crazy. First of all, if you're gonna like, that's fine having like several imprints. Marvel's gonna have a bunch of them now. You have like your mainline, your Ultimate, Imperial, Marvel Knights. Marvel Rivals has its own imprint now. Like if you're really into that, but I just don't understand why they decided to drop these 2 on the same. I do not understand why they decided to drop these 2 on the same day. That is absolutely ridiculous to me.
And it goes back to the conversation both you and TJ had a couple of weeks ago about how heavy the wallet is becoming with
Mhm.
everybody's pull list these days. There's so many great books around. I mean, from Marvel itself, the Ultimate books are just getting better and better according to whatever you and TJ speak about every week on the show. So to have two expensive books like this coming out, along with Ultimate Wolverine that probably came out this week as well, along with some other great books too. I mean, people's going to eventually stop pulling certain books. So are they essentially shooting themselves in the foot by doing this?
Possibly. Possibly, or at least in my case, I'm not even gonna bother picking up this Marvel Knights book, which is kind of what happened here. It's unfortunate because I was interested in it when it was announced. Marvel Knights is a classic sort of imprint from Marvel that dealt with like some heavier, darker topics, and Daredevil was included way back when in the Marvel Knights area. So yeah, I completely agree with Carlos. It's not alone. It's not just strange that they dropped on the same month, like these two things, but let alone the same day. It's ridiculous. So that's my rant. Because I would have liked to talk about Marvel Knights, but I just couldn't reason with myself an extra $6. And also, just because you brought it up, how there's just more and more absolute books, more and more ultimate books, Imperial, some indie books that I also like to pick. I have to, limit my pull list because this is not a cheap hobby. I dropped not dropped, but I didn't pick up one of the first absolute slash ultimate books that came out on a week. So we're not talking about Absolute Green Lantern this week because I didn't pick it up. That was probably my least favorite out of all of them so far. Maybe it'll get better. If I hear it gets better, I may jump back into it. But that's the first one that kind of had to be hit by the head. So unfortunate there. Unfortunate there. TJ, thanks for joining us in the chat. Unfortunately, wasn't able to be here on the show today. But speaking of Imperial, AF. Speaking of Imperial, let's talk about it. Because what is Imperial? We were teased when this was announced that this is like a big, giant Hickman-styled swing on the Marvel Cosmic Universe. We're like, oh, is he restructuring it? Is he like ultimating this thing? Is he X-Menning this thing? What's going on here? So it's written by Jonathan Hickman, artist Iban Coelho, Federico Vicentini, colorist Federico Blee, letterer Corey Pettit, editors Lindsay Cohick, Tom Brevoort, and Annalise Bissa. This is so far not what I was expecting, but what I do love is that this is something very classic. This is, to me, a good old fashioned vintage swing at what a Marvel event used to be, where you take things going on in a side of the universe and you make it a proper event with no tie-ins. There may be like a single one-off issue tie-in or so, but this is a 4-issue mini, a 4-issue event. Think about it like this: what Infinity Gauntlet was, right? That's what an event used to be. It used to be an event book that was 4 or 5, maybe 6 issues, and it would tell a grand sweeping story. And that's what this is starting to be. So Imperial is a cosmic event, much like Infinity Gauntlet kind of was, but it sticks very heavily in the cosmic universe. That includes characters like the Guardians of the Galaxy, specifically Star-Lord in this case. That includes Nova. That includes, if you're deep into the X-Men lore, if you remember like the X-Men animated series, the Shi'ar. But if you're looking at the top here, like what are a bunch of Hulks doing here? It's because we have a new Sakaar. And Hulk's son, spoiler alert, because they did tease deaths. They did tease deaths in this. Yeah, Hulk's son, au revoir. He got killed, and a bunch of space galactic leaders are being poisoned, starting to die. And that's what this entire event is. We're creating a federation, a galactic federation government system. But in the process of this creation, leaders across all of these major planets are starting to get killed. And yes, that does include Wiccan and Hulkling as well.
Yeah.
And they play, seems like, a very major role in this. And that also includes the Wakandans, who had their bit of space adventures not too far long ago. Very cool book so far. Heavier read because this is a $7 book, but I feel like you get 2 books in here because it's a chunky read. It's like I think 48 pages or something like that. It's a thick book. So you get what you pay for here. It's Hickman, high quality writing. If you like Planet Hulk type stuff, huge implications here. Yeah, Scar, everyone. R.I.P. Now, I'm not very attached to Scar in comics or in other media, but I know we kind of like a majority of people, let's say, got their first look at Scar through the MCU. So seeing that he was kind of like the first to go, maybe like a like, oh, maybe we'll do this in the movies because no one cares. I thought that was a funny move. But there's definitely other things at play. It feels like there's a chess mass, a galactic chess mass, if you will, going on. Very cool stuff. This just feels like a classic vintage event AF. That's how I read this. How did you read this?
Do you know what it feels like to me? This
Let's hear it.
feels like Marvel Cosmic Game of Thrones. It
Yes.
has it has everything that you need to sort of accomplish an event of that magnitude.
Hmm.
It's so good. It feels like you're in in a thriller while you like just paging through this book. The mystery of everything up until that sort of fourth issue in this book, like it really had me. And then when that scene of Wiccan and Haltling came about, I was like, nah, surely not. But yeah, they brought it home quite nicely. I don't really want to spoil it for anybody because I feel like this is a really good book to read without any spoilers. So
Hmm.
hopefully, what Damon and I are speaking about right now is enough of a tease for you to go out and actually buy this book because it's really really good.
No, Jeff is not involved. No Jeff. No Jeff in this. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll see Cosmic Jeff anytime soon. But Nova is involved here, Richard Rider specifically. Star Lord heavily involved. I think AOF hit the nail on the head because I got the exact same vibe, and I'm glad you brought that up. It has very heavy Game of Thrones vibes because it's like a high-ranking political quote unquote thriller on a who done it type of thing. And then you may not even believe who done it, and there's a lot of double
Yeah,
crossing and stuff going on here. Very cool. I dug this way more than expected. I was expecting like a what was that? It was like the ultimate invasion like thing that led into the ultimate universe. I was expecting this would be like this, but it's not. It's more like classic vintage Marvel event.
yeah,
And it's Hickman, it's 4 issues. There's a chance if he nails us, can easily go down as just like one of like the great Marvel mini events. And
yeah.
I hope if this sells well and is received well, that Marvel looks at this and says, maybe we don't need event books that span 20 tie-ins and go on for 9 months.
That sounded
9
personal.
months. You don't need that. You don't need that. So hopefully this does well. I really, really, really love this. Yes, Hickman, just give him the keys to everything Marvel pretty much essentially
Yeah,
has. Just let him start and finish when he's ready. I'm all in. I'm all in. So
there
AF
is there
out of
is
10, I will actually, yeah, go on. Yeah.
there is one thing that I think that if certain readers aren't really familiar with Hickman's work and his sort of like text heavy approach in some cases, it
Mhm.
might be a bit overwhelming for them. But I don't think it's enough to
It's
throw
Hickman.
anybody off.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
the thing there is like, it's Hickman. It's going to be a
yeah,
bit heavy. Um, Carlos did bring up an epic story in just 4 issues. It's 56 pages. I just double checked. It is 56 pages. There's essentially 3 or 4 chapters within each issue.
yeah.
You're getting a
Or
good chunk
yeah,
for what you're reading. So even though I think they did this very well, it is $7. It's my only critique. It is $7, but I feel like it's worth it. I think it's worth the price. So there you go. Imperial, what is it? Maybe Marvel's next great mini event. There you go. Carlos brought this up in the chat earlier. Didn't Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion come out this week? Yes, it did. This is written by Cody Zigger, Dennis Camp, artist Jonas Scharf, colorist Edgar Delgado, letter Corey Pettit. Another book. That's a number one that came out. Now, how is this? What is this? This is like the first time anyone from the 616 proper has come over to the 6160, to the new Ultimate Universe. And of course, it's Miles Morales, the original Ultimate Miles Morales, the original Ultimate Spider-Man, comes on over because his little baby sister of 11 months old took the card from the maker that he left behind him in Ultimate Invasion. We all remember that. Took the magic card, magically foofed away. Miles tried to follow her. She's MIA, and now Miles is in Ultimate New York City trying to find his baby sister, runs into the two Spider-Men. So where this takes place in the timeline of things, I assume a little bit later on, I'm going to be honest, because the two Spider-Men are not currently in New York City. We'll get there. I'm sure they'll be back. But they're dealing with Miles. It's really funny. We have Richard, who's Peter Parker's son, who is in the black suit, is kind of like enamored with this Miles Morales, like just like, he's so cool, Dad. And he's like, but I thought I was cool, and it's really like funny in that way. This is a very light-hearted book, which is pretty rare for anything that says Dennis Camp on it, because I feel like Cody Ziegler really like had more of the storytelling here. It felt more like a Cody book than a Dennis Camp book. Dennis Camp probably, I feel like, helped with like the ultimate factor in here. And you could see that with like whenever the ultimates eventually get involved later on, because they're like, what is this being here? Eventually, all the other powers that be outside of the maker, because he's still in his little time bubble whenever he's waiting to get out, all the powers that be are like, there's this interdimensional being, and we need to deal with this. So now every power that be is now trying to get to Miles, trying to get to Spider-Man. A lot of fun. I think this is a good, fun, light book, a neat book if you're just kind of want to see what happened to Miles, if you were to go into here. And so far, as I said a few weeks ago, I wonder what happened to like 6160 Miles Morales. So far, we don't know. And so far, he's starting to think maybe he doesn't exist in this universe.
Is this
really cool? One last thing, really cool introduction of a now liked Spider-Man villain, specifically Miles Spider-Man villain. The Spot, the Ultimate Spot, makes his ultimate debut. And this is a Spot who took the powers of someone else to become the Spot. And who is that AF? He took Tyrone's little fancy box, Cloak's little fancy box. So that's kind of like how he gets his little teleporty little things going on. I was like,
actually
okay.
very clever.
I was like, okay, I can see the tie here. That's really neat. So there you go. We got our ultimate Spot. Little creepy Spot too. Reminds me of like absolute Freeze. Or just like creepy. So there you go.
Is this a limited, or is it probably going to
limited? Yeah,
6
There's
issues.
Only a few, I think maybe even 4. That's not many.
Okay, yeah, because I was wondering, like, the fact that it has a sub heading as Incursion, probably something that couldn't be ongoing. So they probably have an end game for it. Yeah,
there's a chance that maybe something comes of this in the end. I would say the only thing that may come of this is that like some of the major players here learn about another universe. And then who knows what happens from there, right? I think this is just going to be like a fun thing just to kind of see the whole Ultimate Universe start to come together properly for the first time. You see May Storm on this cover. We see Spider-Man. We see Wolverine. We see Black Panther. They're not all in this book yet, but it seems like Miles will be running into them as this little mini progresses. So it'll be cool to kind of like see the worlds start to truly come together for the first time.
Yeah, it's like if I'm gonna theorize, I'm thinking they probably come together as a sort of a culmination at the end of it all.
Where Miles is just traveling the world trying to find a sister, and that's just him
True.
popping around. So there you go. Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion. Not a huge book, especially in the Ultimate side. I would say it's the best book. It's not a bad book. It's a fun book. And if you just kind of want to see, hey, let's see Miles in this setting, I think you'll have a good time. Some good humor in here as well. Ooh. I mean, Imperial, I think, was my favorite book of the week, but this is a strong number 2. Like 4.5 to 4.5 flip a coin material. This is Ultimate Wolverine, number 6, written by Chris Condon, artist Alex Linz, colorist Brian Valenza, and letterer Corey Pettit. This is issue number 6. This is the finale of the first arc of Ultimate Wolverine. In the last issue, Ultimate Wolverine was taken in by Gambit and Black Widow and a few others. And in this issue, as I've been saying throughout the last 5 issues leading up to this, we have still yet to see this Wolverine talk because he is the Winter Soldier. AF, by the end of this issue, spoilers alert everyone, he is speaking again because we haven't no, not boo, because how we got there is rad.
Okay. I still would have liked him to stay silent, but let's go. Let's go.
You ready for this? Diving into full spoilers for this. I'll say non-spoilers at least. Very sweet book. I'm very confused by anyone who's upset by this. I think it's rad. I don't know how much longer they could have like gone on with the Winter Soldier type of like thing for Wolverine for how much longer before it just got beyond repetitive, right? It had to be concluded by the first arc. If not by the first arc, like it goes too deep, right? So how does Wolverine come back? Well, he's a bit unconscious when he's taken out. And in this issue, it's all within his head again. And he hears a voice. And it's a voice of one. It's a voice of Legion. Legion is in the Ultimate Universe. He was killed as a young boy with his mother in a landslide, obviously caused by the Maker to, wipe him off. But because Legion is so fucking powerful, because Legion is so incredibly powerful, his consciousness, much like Zemo, went into a computer mainframe. Beast found this consciousness into the Eurasian mainframe that evil Colossus, I don't even need to say evil Omega Red because he's Omega Red, that those 3 who run all the Eurasian Republic were using his consciousness almost like an AI. Beast found it, freed him, and now Legion is being used for good. Can we trust Legion, though? It's Legion. It's Legion. Who is Legion, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know? That's a son of Charles Xavier. Famously has multiple personality disorder. It's stupidly powerful, like beyond powerful. So Beast used Legion, his AI Legion, to go into Logan's brain and bring him back by the end of the issue. And there we see a bunch of X-Men, classic Claremont X-Men, out waiting for him to say, welcome back. Very cool.
And so then basically all of that sort of rewiring and bringing him back basically brings sort of humanity back to him as well? Or is he still going to be the same sort of Wolverine, just with a voice now?
No, I think he's back. That was his breakthrough. So what Beast had described what Legion can do, because Legion famously has like a multiple personality disorder.
Yeah.
What Legion can do is help with PTSD and go into someone's brain and essentially free them of that.
Yeah.
So it seems like Logan is back by the end of the first arc.
Okay. That sounds cool.
Very
And
cool. I dug it.
how's that payoff for you though, seeing that you've been extremely invested in this book?
Maybe another arc of Winter Soldiery type of Wolverine, but like I said, you can't keep this going forever. You need to have
Yeah.
some sort of progression. You need to have some sort of breakthrough. And I think it's hilarious. And TJ and I have been enjoying Ultimate X-Men because it's so different. But I think it's hilarious that this is truly like the real X-Men book.
Okay. I think I can get around that. Like the fact that I've only read the first one, I haven't read much else after that. So this is the end of the first arc. So this would be essentially the trade.
Yes.
Okay. Now that's cool. I'm definitely pulling that trade.
Yes.
So
Also,
I can get into that.
different artist on this book, but it works. I always shout this out whenever someone does this successfully, and we shout it out also with Ultimate Spider-Man happens a lot. We have a fill-in artist who comes in and tries to match the look. Alex Lins does not try to match the look per se of Ultimate Wolverine previously. He almost has like a classic Frank Miller when it was like good art Frank Miller, where it's a little more blocky, but it works because, like I said, the entire issue is within Logan's brain. It's in his mind. So there's like a reason things can look differently. So I always shout out in a writer artist combo when an artist comes in, does their thing, but you can make it make sense within the story why it looks so different. But Brian Valenza is still on the art, just still made it seamless. It wasn't like completely oversaturated. Everything still felt the same, but just visually it was a little more blocky, but it worked.
So we have Corey Pettit on letters over here, and did he take any sort of like difference in creative direction for when Wolverine finally spoke in terms of how he did those letters, or was it just business as usual, stock
When
standard?
he did, so there's a lot of letters in here because it's voices talking to each
Yeah.
other. I don't think he did anything particularly different when Logan actually spoke, but when like Legion is speaking to
Okay.
Logan, like obviously like the letters look a little different and you're trying to figure out why. Everything I mentioned too, by the way, with like all the Legion backstory, that can all be found in the data page on the back. It's a lot of words. It's literally paragraphs, but it's really cool story to read. And because it's all about like Beast figuring out and it's his journal, like learning everything about how they got to Legion and giving you that extended backstory that would usually take another issue to tell, but you don't have that issue. So you kind of lay it all out right there.
Yeah.
What a
If
cool, I
you
was just not expecting Legion. That was just such a cool surprise.
if you want to TLDR about who Legion is, just check out TJ's comment in the chat.
Yeah. Take Professor X's powers, multiply them by 1,000, give him multiple personality disorder, and a lot of wild stuff. There's a lot of cool Legion books. New Mutants is when he's just like brought up Claremont's New Mutants. You can go check that out. Also
The show
came
is really
back.
good. The show
Yeah,
is
also
really
came
good.
back in the, I want to say, New Mutants in the Krakoa era as well. So Legion has a lot of cool books out there. And it's a character I know they introduced in the movies, sort of. I like to see that done right. That's a character that should be done right in every medium. Sticking with this. Sorry, AF, we had a lot of books this week. Absolute Superman. Written by Jason Aaron, artist Rafa Sandoval, colorist Ulysses Areola, letter Rebecca Carey, editors Ash Padilla and Chris Conroy. I often go back and forth on which Absolute book is my favorite. Sometimes I say Absolute Superman, sometimes I say Absolute Wonder Woman, sometimes, very rarely, I'll say Batman. And almost more recently, I've been saying Martian Manhunter. I don't think this issue of Superman brought that Superman hype back up for me, but it is very clear and obvious. I'm not going to go into spoilers for this issue because I want everyone to come up with their own interpretation of what's going on in this book. My interpretation of going on in this book may be different than yours, maybe different than anyone else who reads it. For what Lois Lane represents, for what Jimmy Olsen represents, and for what Superman represents. I think that's going to be very personal for who represents for what, wherever you read this throughout the world, whatever your ideology is. But I think no matter what, the message will still hit the same. And it's extraordinarily relevant to today's day and age, in my opinion. I think this is pretty well done. We do get introduced properly to a very, very, very interesting version of Ra's al Ghul, who is
In a
the
Superman
villain
book?
in Absolute Superman. Right? And that's something it took me a couple issues to come to terms with. I'm finally like, okay, because Lazarus is the big villain here for Superman. It's not LexCorp, it's
Yeah.
Lazarus. And it works so far, especially for what Ra's al Ghul is, what it represents, what he can do in this universe. I'll say this much. He's been around for at least 200 years, if not more. It's been around for a long time. It's practically a god at that point. He's been using Brainiac to help him progress in life, to get ahead in life, to keep going in life. And yes, the Lazarus pits still exist. Of course they do. They have to. There's a moment in here with the Lazarus pits, with Ra's al Ghul, with one of the Omega Men. That was like, I was like, oh shit. That man just did something terrible. That works. It just works. I'm enjoying this. Not my favorite issue. It's like a little. It's the second issue of New Arc, right? Setting some things up, especially with Ra's al Ghul. Setting some things up with Superman's relationship with the Omega Men, with Lois Lane in particular, and what she may or may not represent. Dig it. Dig it. AF, I cannot wait for you to read this.
Yeah, this is gonna be me next week. I'm probably gonna text you or something after that. Yeah, like Absolute Superman is still my current favorite title at the moment. Yeah, I'm digging everything that they are doing with this character in this universe, and just like, because I'm keeping up with a lot of things I'm all in as well. There's a lot of things that might be tying in very, very soon, and I'll get to that in a bit when we speak about my books. But yeah, just the fact that, like you mentioned now, that Ra's al Ghul is a villain in a Superman book. I like that they're taking these big swings. They're adding these differences, and that's all that we wanted out of these Absolute books. We wanted different villains for different heroes and just different takes on them. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I can't wait to read it. And yeah,
Because what does Lazarus Corp really stand for? It stands for prosperity, stands for longevity. This
yeah.
stands for hope. Justice League Unlimited, AF, written by Mark Waid, artist Travis Moore, colorist Tamara Bond Villain, letterer Ariana Mayer, and editors Marky Draper and Paul Kaminsky. This is part 5 already of this We Are Yesterday crossover event between Justice League Unlimited and World's Finest. AF, quickly recap what's been going on in this event. What happens in this issue?
So yeah, this is the penultimate issue. So the next one will be the final one. Just a quick bit of recap. Uh, Grodd he's basically acknowledged that he can't beat the Justice League on his own in the present time. So he concocts this huge plan of using tachyon energy to go back in time to get the Legion of Doom back when they were their most dangerous, their most evil beings, and just round them up to form the best of the Legion of Doom. And then he brings them back to the future, and they basically just are they're too much for the Justice League to handle. They can't handle them in this form because Grodd's seen the future, and he's basically uh, sort of shared that future with all of the Legion of Doom members. And yeah, it's a really, how can I say, dangerous weapon for them to have, to know that they will be defeated in the future, and to use the, like Lex Luthor and Gorilla Grodd, using those smart, clever minds to find ways to ensure that that doesn't happen. So yeah, that's a quick high level overview of what's been happening. And in this episode, every Justice League member, or most of them, they are scattered all throughout time. So some are scattered in like 10,000 BC, and some are scattered like I think Nightwing and Garfield. They are at the end of time. That's literally where they've been shifted to. So they are literally all separated, but spoilers at the end of it all, our boy Airwave, he did not die. God thought that he killed him, but what he actually did was turn him into tachyon energy. So his entire presence exists across time. So you can see all of those Justice League members at the same time. You can communicate with him at the same time. And it's through him that at the end of the issue, we get this cliffhanger where he comes back and he takes Justice League members from different points in time, different timelines. We have Abin Sur, Green Lantern. We have the hook arm Aquaman from the 90s, Batman Beyond, Terry McGinnis, Batman Zero Hour. Um, we have like the 90s Robin. They're all coming back, and that's essentially the new Justice League that Airwave is coming with as the final page in this issue to take on the new Legion of Doom. It's amazing. I enjoyed myself so much with this issue. We also uh, got to just see like all of these different heroes when they scattered through time, all the difficulties that they're going through. Green Lantern, Green Arrow, the Flash. They all trying to like sort of find ways to get back, but then Airwave comes clutch, and it's a really fun issue. I can't wait for the final one.
My only question with this, first of all, that's really fun. Batman Beyond, Aquaman with the hook, that's a classic. My only question with you with this is if you are just reading Justice League Unlimited and you're not going back and forth between this and World's Finest, can you keep up with this crossover, or is it would that be impossible?
So there are a few panels where they try to fill in as much detail as possible, but then
Mhm.
obviously they'll have like the asterisk next to it, and then give the 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 line at the bottom with like as seen in World's Finest number 39. So the thing is, there are there are some details that they couldn't get into in this book because I mean they're down to like 20 odd pages, so you you can't really fill it in with pages from another book. So they in this issue you would have to have read number 39 of World's Finest just to sort of get that background of what's been happening and how they can get back and why they scattered through time and stuff like that. But they don't really get into anything from like the first World's Finest issue that was involved in this crossover, which I think was We Are Yesterday Part One.
Mm.
So that's basically very much in the review mirror. But yeah, issue number 39 is pretty important to this one.
Okay. So not impossible, but very, very, very challenging
Yeah.
if you were to just read this without going on to the crossover event. So good to know. Good to know. Now, Superman number 26. This is a book I had been keeping up with. Unfortunately, with all the books that are coming out, one of these had to go. And I still have been enjoying this, which sucks. So I may have to keep up with this in some way, shape, and form, trade, whatever, after this. It's written by Joshua Williamson. Art from our good friend Sean Isaacs, penciler Eddie Burrows, inker Eber Ferreira, colorist Alejandro Sanchez, letterer Ariana Mayer, and editors Jillian Grant, Paul Kaminsky. What I do know about this book, and what I'd been teased in the solicit that I saw, is like Superman has been injected with red kryptonite. That's been a thing for last few issues. This isn't anything new. And we do know that we had a good Lex Luthor who's still kind of maybe good. We're not sure. AF, what's been going on? What happens in this issue?
So in the last issue, we had the good Lex Luthor, and
Mhm.
we all had our reservations about him. Come on, Lex Luthor cannot be good.
Mhm.
That's not a thing. There's no such thing. And in that issue, there was a, what was it called? I think it was called Cal X.
Mm,
He made an android. He created an android of himself with Superman's powers,
mm,
but he never ever used it. Mercy was the one that ended up using it. Lex basically said, "I never used him because I knew it would be a mistake. I was still working on him. I was like basically ironing out all the kinks to ensure that this android would only be used for good." And then when he,
For Lex Luthor good.
yeah, and then Mercy, obviously, when she saw this whole Lex Luthor turn over a new guy persona, she was just like, "Nope, I'm just going to release him, and he's going to cause havoc." And at the end of it all, the Lex Luthor that we know, the good Lex Luthor, he put on his suit and he straight up killed that Cal X android. And Superman was just like, "No, you weren't supposed to do that. He should have had a chance." Obviously, and, Superman's the good guy. He's always
Mm,
going to try and give everybody a chance. Even if you're an android, you are still going to get a chance. So because that happened and Lex had a huge hand in building that, he was imprisoned. So they locked him up, and that's majority of this issue is just Lex Luthor in a prison cell trying to um, plead his guilty to Lena, trying to plead his innocence to Lena, plead his innocence to Superman. Superman going to Mercy, saying that he's just cutting off all ties with Supercorp. It's just not going to be a thing anymore. But while doing that, all this anger inside of him and all this resentment of Lex is building up. And we go all the way back to the farm with Dr. Farm and Dr. Graft.
Oh,
And
those
the
are names I
red
haven't heard in a long time.
and we get the red K seeds that were planted way back when.
Hmm.
And as you can see on this cover, Superman is having trouble controlling that. So he's become sort of a public enemy now because he can't control this power. He's going crazy in Metropolis. And Madeline Moonlight, she comes back. And the next issue, we're going to have a standoff
I'm, re-
between
I'm
Superman.
I'm regretting this.
It's so good. The Josh Williamson
Oh,
is so good. And then included in this book, we have two interludes. I think Sean Isaacs, he does the one interlude, and I think Eddie Barrows does the other interlude.
mm,
But we have an interlude at the end of time with the time trapper, and he's being tortured by the Legion of superheroes. So Phantom Girl, Lightning Lad, but not just the Legion of superheroes. Darkseid's legion of superheroes. They have been infected with the Omega energy. So they are trying to torture the time trapper to find out why he's been after Superman, what is so important about Prime Superman. So those are seeds being planted. We have another interlude with Raiders carrying Supercorp technology, going to battle in space with General Zod. So these are all seeds planted for future events and future issues.
okay.
So I like that they did that. That sounds cool.
I am interested in that. That is interesting, especially because we know, like, they've said this before. Joshua Williamson said this. Snyder's has said this. Um, that like for every evil in the universe, that is dark side energy, and that's what the absolute universe is. What is
Yeah,
the prime universe is? It's Superman energy. It's good energy.
yeah,
So it's no secret why Superman is so important. Because if Superman were to genuinely actually die, then there's no good energy left in the
yeah.
universe, right? So you can possibly see where this is going, but I think it's interesting regardless, especially if, let's say, Superman were to die or something like that. And we
Yeah.
did have our absolute crisis trademark
Oh,
copyright,
I
right?
I
Then
think
you're
we are
cooked. Then
getting
you're
that.
cooked without that. Like
I think
if you have that without Superman, you're cooked.
yeah. I think we are getting absolute crisis probably before the end of next year.
Seems
I
early.
think I don't think that they're going to be dragging all of these storylines out much longer than that.
Seems
because
early,
even
just
in
because of how
if,
successful it's been.
yeah, I mean, even the Justice League Unlimited, something that I probably should have mentioned and I omitted was that on the Watchtower, when the Legion of Doom are on the Watchtower, Gorilla Grodd's entire plan is to go to the exact spot where Darkseid vanished, and the Omega sort of energy is still it's still there on that spot, and he wants to go in that spot to basically absorb that energy, and the issue ends with Airwave coming through, but then Grodd has this huge Omega sign on his forehead. So
Ooh.
we are going to get a lot of tie-ins very, very soon.
Okay. All right. It's coming. Absolute crisis. Trademark, copyright, whatever you want. Do it now. You know I love my horror comics. AF, did you have the chance to read this?
I did.
Oh, thank
I did.
goodness. Thank goodness. This is from Boom Studios. It's written by Jude Ellison S. Doyle, artist Lisandro S. Duran, colors Francesco Segala, letterer Simon Bolland, and editors Caroline Butler, Allison Grenowitz, and Elizabeth Bride. This is Be Not Afraid, #1. Ooh. Do
I
you
can't
like
believe you made
folk
me read
horror?
this.
Do you like folk horror? Because that's what this book is. Oh, the very few horror books sometimes like kind of get me. Like you really need to like kind of do something where it's like, ooh, the art in here from Lissandra Esteren, perfect for folk horror. And what this essentially is, this is like no new story, you know. This isn't like a story you probably haven't heard before, right? It's a mother who gives birth, who is never pregnant, to a literal demon child. That demon child grows up, now 16, 17 years old, comes back into town after an excursion. This is like, you know, because it's folk horror, it's more like Western type of setting. Anything he touches, anything he turns and talks to, just turns into pure evil death all around him. He is the embodiment of the devil himself. And this mother prays to God to get rid of this child, just like she prayed to God for this child. And what does God bring her? Because God answers, is a hunter to help kill the child. But it turns out that this child is not directly the devil's child, it is actually the child of an angel. Folk horror, folk terror. Love it. The
Do you
art in
know?
here,
You know what?
fantastic.
You know what this reminded me of? I think this took me like 20 years back to The
Mhm.
Omen.
Oh yeah,
Watching The Omen,
yeah.
it had so many of the same sort of
Mm.
beats to that story.
Oh yeah.
I can't believe you made me read this, but I I guess I had a good time. Like every page was so haunting, dude.
Mm.
The the one
Faces.
panel where he said that like the mother was like the guy pulled his eyeballs out and he was like, yeah, he had to know his wrist off so that it would stop.
Gruesome stuff in here. He's
It's
and he's
so
like,
so.
"Oh, it's such a shame. He had to the only way for him to stop choking himself was to gnaw his own hand off. Isn't that crazy, mother?" Like,
No, the initial images with him as a child, I was like, is this a Chucky book? Am I going to read a Chucky book?
I
Because
thought so too, but he
literally
grew
his
up.
face,
Mhm. It's very Chucky.
yeah. Come
Like
on,
young
Brandon.
version of him. It's look, I dug this. I love a good horror book. Boom Studios loves to give me a good horror book, and they absolutely delivered here. Uh, I'm I'm sad that TJ isn't here because I remember this was teased in an issue of Hello Darkness, which is Boom Studios' horror anthology. And this was the story that stuck out with him in that issue. So I hope he has a chance to read this in full because I think the entire story is like much better than what the teaser just was. So really, really dug that. Yeah, man. Creepy, gruesome, horror. There's like a zombie grandma in the house too.
Oh,
Oh,
that totally freaked me out. And then the part with the nanny or the lady that used to look after him when he was growing
the
up.
pianist or the teacher, where
Oh,
he goes up
wow.
there's like, "Oh, hello, Mrs. Hart. It's been so long." And she's like, "Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Go get away from me." Oh, love it. Love it.
I'm
Yeah,
probably
Be
going to
Not
read
Afraid.
issue 2 just because I want to know what happens.
There you go. Be Not Afraid number 1. Definitely check this out. Full core, perfect. One of my favorite issues of the week. We'll be keeping up with this. All right, let's move into Happy Land AF. We'll move away from the spooky and the creepy and the scary. This is next week's polls. I got for all of us Absolute Flash, Jeff the Land Shark number 1. Jeff's first physical, exclusive, physical, direct comic series. Very exciting. Nightwing 127. I've really still been loving that from Dan Waters. Ultimates number 13, where we're starting to see the beginnings of Ultimates 3.0, this new plan. And X-Men number 18. I have been keeping up with X-Men. It's been fine. I mean, I literally only read it just because magic is in it. And also Doom's Division number 4 is out next week. What is Doom's Division, by the way? If you like Agents of Atlas, that's pretty much Agents of Atlas, but with like the Tiger Division characters that kind of got introduced a year and a change ago, which are fine. But hey, I got my Arrow, I got my Wave. It's fun. AF. Oh, also, I for whatever reason I cropped this out. Most importantly, speaking of Magic, Magic number 6 is out next week as well. So that one we'll absolutely be talking about. AF, what you got?
Yeah, so the titles releasing this week for me that I'll probably be reading next week is Absolute Superman number 8, the one that you spoke about today. Secret 6 number 4. I think I've just made peace to finish that limited series, regardless of how much pain it's going to put me through. But I'll just see it through.
You never know.
And
It could surprise you.
yeah, let's hope. Let's hope. And then Spider Gwen, Ghost Spider number 14 drops next week, and Absolute Batman, I think, drops next week as well.
Did I completely? No, that's
Yeah.
not nice. The following week is absolute. Oh wait, no.
No, June 11th.
Did I completely? Okay, so this list right here is absolutely wrong. My bad, everyone. I completely botched that.
You have
so
2 weeks time.
I have 2 weeks from the line, so let's just completely minimize that. Let me actually tell you what I will be picking up next week. Absolute Batman number 9, Hello Darkness number 11, Magic number 6, Something is Killing the Children is back on the shelves, ladies and gentlemen. Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate X-Men, and golly, I'm glad you corrected me on this, because the number 1 book of next week is not Magic number 6, is not Absolute Batman. It's not Something is Killing the Children, which I love. It's the return of a book that hasn't been on the shelves in years.
Ooh.
The Umbrella Academy is back, baby. Next
Gerard
week,
Way.
we will be talking about it. Yes, Gerard Way, Gabriel Ba. Cannot wait to read that. Thank you for correcting me on that. I straight up screenshot. Well, at least I have my next week polls for the next episode. Already done. I don't have to redo it. I just look stupid. So there you go. Oh, cannot wait for Umbrella Academy. That's gonna be so good. So good. Thank God it's back. Thank God it's back. All right, that'll do it for this issue. The Comic Corner. As always, please go out and support your local comic shop. Go to comicshoplocator.com to find your closest comic shop near you. Never know. Sometimes they have some good summer deals going on. There's all these great books, like I mentioned. You're gonna want to get your hands on the return of Umbrella Academy. You're going to want to get your hands on Magic number 6 for selfish reasons. Go out, go support your local comic shops, go pick up your comics. AF, thank you so much for joining me. Everyone, thank you so much for joining in chat. TJ, Brandon, Bex, Carlos, everyone, thank you so much for for joining us today. We'll be back next week as always. And until then, we'll see you next time.